Mr. Batten.
This report considers adopting some of the principles enshrined for centuries in English common law. For example, the presumption of innocence, the burden of proof being on the prosecution, the right to silence and not incriminate oneself, and the right to be present at one's own trial. How ironic it is then that the British Parliament has already abandoned those principles by adopting the EU's own legal instruments. Take the presumption of innocence, enshrined in common law for at least 8 centuries. Under a European arrest warrant, a citizen can be surrendered and imprisoned in a foreign country without a scrap of evidence being presented against them in an English court. This in itself is to abandon the principle of the presumption of innocence. The first duty of English members of Parliament is to protect the freedoms and liberties of their own people. Instead, ours have shamefully betrayed us.
Thanks. And next one will be Mr. Le Breton, but there is a blue card.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Are you ready to answer?
Blue card?
Blue card first. Are you ready to? Mr. Batten, are you ready to? Okay, then Mr. POSPÍŠIL.
Děkuji pěkně, já jsem velmi pozorně poslouchal.
Thank you. I was listening to what the previous speaker has said. Isn't it thanks to the fact that we have the European arrest warrant that enables us to extradite citizens to other member states? The fact that we have minimum standards of criminal procedure. We do send accused citizens to other member states, and therefore we need to have the same minimum standards of procedure.
The European arrest warrant that innocent British citizens have been imprisoned and mistreated in hellhole prisons in countries like Greece, when if there had been a proper extradition procedure, the judge would have been able to look at the evidence, decide there wasn't any and not extradite them. I'm sure I can remind you that there used to be and still is something called the European Convention on Extradition, which can be adopted instead of the European arrest warrant when hopefully Britain abandons it, where we can still extradite people but on the basis of real evidence looked at by a real court, where it can be considered that there is a real case against them to be answered. Then they can be extradited, not before.